Why Diablo 2 players hate Diablo 4? That is a very big claim, and a very definitive one at that. Let's see how true this is.
Diablo 4 is now a spin-off version of Diablo 3, Path of Exile, and World of Warcraft.
Okay.
The RNG random number generator game mechanics that made Diablo 2 the greatest game of all time through randomized loot, dungeons, monster spawns, and even skill damage ability gave you a new experience every time you logged on to the game and has given the player base infinite replay value for 20 years. Diablo 4 has now evolved into a
That was a very extremely loaded way to start off the video. Wow. So, first of all, I will grant you this. If you have only played Diablo 2 as your only game for the past 10, 20-ish years, then yeah, you maybe do think that Diablo 2 is the greatest game of all time, because that's the only game you have played. But this is not going to be true for the vast majority of players. Now, is Diablo 2 a game that has withstood the test of time? Definitely. Is it still a great game despite everything? Definitely. But is it the greatest game of all time? Probably not. It did inspire a lot of things, it made a lot of things great, and it made a lot of things happen. But that's a little bit far-fetched, honestly, in my opinion. Second of all, this random number generator thing seems so extremely off. There is so little in the way of RNG, honestly, when we think of Diablo 2. The loot is based on eye level, and then it gets random affixes and suffixes and whatnot, depending on that. It can never roll, everything. The mob spawns. If you go to Nightmare difficulty and Hell difficulty, they're gonna be a little bit different, but they're gonna be the same at the end of the day. If you go to Andariel at Hell, the mobs are never really gonna be different after the fifth time you go to her. You're gonna have seen everything at that point. And the dungeon layouts, they're not unique at all. Teleporting to Mephisto for the fifth time is the same exact experience as teleporting to him for the 100th time, if you understand where level 3 is going to be depending on your waypoint location. There is nothing really unique about Diablo 2 RNG.
Repetitive gameplay style that gives you the same experience over and over. That is less rewarding and is for the casual player base and MMORPG based game mechanics.
Okay.
Now, I've been
a casual experience doesn't mean it's a bad experience.
Considered one of the most controversial Diablo 2 content creators for my critical opinions and somewhat of an outcast because of them. 98% of Diablo-specific content creators are partnered with Blizzard. This is probably why you have never seen me use the hashtag DiabloPartner.
Okay.
I've always expressed myself to the fullest and never tried to gain the approval of everybody, which is an impossible task when fully being yourself. The game is my love and passion, though.
That is true, but at the same time, that statement throws extreme shade on, well, everyone in this list. Because he's implying that because they are partnered, they are not going to say certain things. And that, by the way, is a complete normal statement to make, but I think he goes a little bit too far here. He is implying that if Blizzard does something really bad with Diablo or whatever, these people are not going to even mention it. That is the implication here. These people are caged while he is the only one who is able to tell you the truth. Which is a little bit radical.
I will be as old as Decker King, going on a rant about game mechanics and just my overall love for the game. All of my opinions come from a place of love, and I want Diablo to be in the spotlight like it should have been for the past 20 years. So let's talk about how the Diablo 4 game mechanics work. I will explain to you how Diablo 4 has now evolved into a repetitive experience from a Diablo 2 player perspective.
I I am a Diablo 2 player, by the way. Every couple of years, no matter is it the season reset or whatever, I play the game. I trade, I do bosses, I gear up a character or two, okay? And as a Diablo 2 player, I find Diablo 2's experience extremely repetitive. It has not significantly changed until Resurrected for, 20-ish years at this point.
Explaining the core game mechanics that are important to understand for the long-term success of Diablo 4 or any Diablo game. Diablo's unique gameplay style and replay value is possible through the term RNG, the random number generator. This was the main core revolutionary game mechanic of Diablo 2. This core value has been exiled from the Diablo franchise since the release of Diablo 3 and now abandoned by Diablo 4. Now, you may have asked yourself, what is it? What is it about Diablo 2 that made that game the greatest game of all time?
No, I want an explanation about the RNG mechanics, because this argument seems very null and void at this time. I don't even think I need to say anything. Who's gonna agree with that? That Diablo 2 had unique RNG. I would say that Diablo 2 has way less RNG than Diablo 3 or, well, almost any other modern game.
Why did I spend 20 years playing this game and not others? With my studies of quantum physics and my spiritual journey, I realized 95%.
Studies of quantum physics. I don't know if that's a joke. I honestly can't tell if that is supposed to be serious or not.
Of our brain's thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, perceptions, and more function like an
Dr. Joe Dispenza explains 95% of who you are is a set of memorized behaviors, skills, emotional reactions, beliefs, perceptions, and attitude that functions like a subconscious automatic computer program. I mean, that's that is agreeable even if you do not think of us as being ununique beings.
An automatic, unconscious computer program. Your perceptions of the real world and the gaming world are a set of unconscious programs. This theory, along with the misunderstanding of Diablo's core game mechanics, were the real reason why you had these beliefs about Diablo 2 being the greatest game of all time, which I will explain in further detail later on. Chris Wilson, the creator of Path of Exile, studied these theories as well about Diablo 2 when he was creating Path of Exile. Chris knew Diablo 2 was the greatest game of all time, and he studied the game to its core. Every time you log on to Diablo 2,
if he thought Diablo 2 was the greatest game of all time, why would he make a new game? Wouldn't that automatically make anything that he makes a definitive failure? I wouldn't make a game if I thought that something is the greatest thing and then try to make it better, because how can you?
You have a new experience because of the RNG mechanics. Every moment is different. It is impossible to have the same experience you had before every time you log on to the game. When you enter...
Okay, to just explain how stupid and moot that point is, watch this. This is a pen. Now I take it with my other hand. Watch this. I will do the exact same thing. My experience will never be the same no matter how many times I tried. It's gonna be a completely new, unique experience every time I do it. This is why arguments like this are stupid. You can't perfectly replicate everything to the exact same atom, which I'm assuming is his kind of point, considering he says quantum physics. You can't replicate that. So yeah, every experience is gonna be always unique no matter what.
Enter the world, the dungeons are randomized, along with the types of monsters that spawn, the loot that drops.
Okay, you can argue that the loot that drops is not randomized because every difficulty, every eye level has a certain range of loot that can drop, with a certain affix amount that can drop. Certain legendaries can only drop in certain areas because of the eye level. The dungeon layout is not really unique by any circumstances because almost every map is built in a way. For example, if you have played this game, you know that Domain of Hate level 2, depending on where your waypoint is or where your entrance is, you can already know, if you have played enough, where the level 3 is gonna be. Catacombs level 2 with Andariel, that is RNG because no one has figured out the code to crack that, but pretty much almost all the mobs are not really RNG. The start is always X, and the end is always X. Like Stu, I guess. And what's in between is gonna be more or less random, but you can still find the exact same layout if you play long enough.
The map layouts, and even your skill damage ability. Now, when you play Diablo 2, as I said, 95% of your perceptions of the world are unconscious. You unconsciously never knew exactly why Diablo 2 was the greatest game of all time. And
I will agree with that.
Mechanics pass right by your awareness. This concept of the Diablo world had you constantly addicted to the rush of wanting new experiences. You just never realized it this whole time. The loot being randomized gave you a sense of overwhelming accomplishment when you found something like such as a high rune. This extreme rarity combined with the reward of extreme power left the player feeling like they were truly rewarded for their effort. The reason why Diablo 2 players won't like Diablo 4 is because it doesn't have these core game mechanics of the RNG. In Diablo 4, the world is almost
fundamentally disagreed. In Diablo 4, if you're going to be making a build or something like that, you are going to be very happy when you find that upgrade that you were looking for, when you finally get that legendary you were looking for.
Almost always the same with no RNG. The dungeons are the same repetitive experience over and over again. Fetch a key, run to the left, run to the right, and open a door. The monster spawns are somewhat randomized, however, mostly the same. So now let's talk about soulbound items, no trading, and the itemization. So 98% of the item drops are for your class and gives you no sense of accomplishment. This term is called personal loot, the same repetitive experience. This is a spin-off concept from World of Warcraft instance loot, where the loot drops are mostly the same from bosses and become soulbound. This has removed the idea of item drops being unique, special, and rewarding. This is to appeal to...
And that also coincidentally has removed the feeling of, oh, well, this is garbage because I'm doing my 5th run, and look at that! Again, I am getting an item that my class can't even use, and I have absolutely no want to play that other class. That's a good thing, theoretically. Admittedly, this is more personal opinion, so you can't really bash the guy for it or say anything really bad against it, but he's elevating a personal opinion through the roof at the moment.
To the casual players. Also the World of Warcraft player base because it has a massive following, and they like the concept of instance loot. They don't like RNG based item drops. This gets them interested in the game and makes Blizzard more money from a wider audience. Also, the loot drops were increased for the beta, however by admitting that this creates a wider audience and makes more people happy, he literally admits that that system is, by the way, superior. If you're gonna argue that point, you can never admit that more people are happy with that system because that instantaneously destroys your point. I still think Blizzard is going to have legendaries dropping like RAW runes, just to benefit the casual player base, and also for casual players who don't play the game at an end game level. So soulbound items and no trading. Have you ever heard any player say, I don't like trading? I don't want trading in Diablo 4. Never. Let's say you find...
Yes! Yeah, 100%. Almost every game that is a Diablo-like game currently has this crazy thing called solo self-found or whatever variant of that name. Yeah, Last Epoch, I'm pretty sure it has it. Path of Exile has it. So many games have this. And even when a game doesn't have this, some people willingly choose to never engage in trading.
And a Zod rune, the rarest rune in the entire game of Diablo 2 that is for a build like a barbarian. And you found it on a sorceress, so now it has no use to you. If
Yep.
this was Diablo 4, you couldn't trade it. One of the rarest items in the game, and you now have to just salvage it. Even though item drops are...
But what if I'm playing solo self-found in Diablo 2? What then?
class-based, what if it's not for your build? Will this happen in Diablo 4? Most likely. This theory isn't absolute because we haven't experienced endgame. So why does Blizzard want no trading when 98% of the Diablo community wants trading? There are many theories to this. One,
I'm pretty sure he has currently completely gotten every percentile number just at random.
is Blizzard thinks this will fix real money trading. However, there will always be real money trading when trading is available in any kind of form. There's no fixed RMT unless the game is completely solo self-found. Blizzard wants you to actually find the items yourself to complete your character.
Makes
in other
sense,
words, they
yes.
just want you to be solo self-found. This restricts the player from having the freedom to make their own choices. Instead, they should just have a self-found league like Path of Exile. They're literally forcing the player base to be solo self-found. Another theory is they are trying to appeal to a wider audience of players, which is probably World of Warcraft, where soulbound items are the pathway to endgame gear completion. The next theory is they personally think this is the best for the game and its future, regardless of community feedback. And the last theory is they think Diablo 3 was...
What community feedback has there been that people are yelling, "Oh, Blizzard, what are you doing? Why can't I trade? It's the most integral part of the game." Bruh, hasn't been an integral part of Diablo 3 for, almost ever slightly after the launch?
a success based on sales of 30 million copies without trading. However, when Diablo 3 was released, everyone hated the game and it died. The game had 200 Twitch viewers for years.
I liked Diablo 3, by the way, when it released. I liked it. It was hard, and it really did feel like Diablo for me. I really enjoyed it. After they made it into the classic Zoomer Fest that it is now, but when it released, I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed it.
The game was completely lifeless, while Diablo 2 had 40,000 players online in 2016.
Half of them are
and
bots.
for some reason, Blizzard still seems
At
to
least
think that
half.
the game was a success. Diablo in the franchise is like the Beatles. It doesn't matter if the album or if the music or if the game is even good at all. It's going to sell millions of copies just because of the hype around the name.
True.
So let's talk about the
True.
constant restrictions of gameplay. Diablo 4 is advertised as an open world game. The world makes you feel
That's cool.
restricted on the places you can go because there are barriers everywhere. The dungeons are usually one pathway and it literally makes you feel trapped in the world. Diablo 2 is 10 times more open world than this.
How is it more open world? There's like maybe 2 maps in the whole game that have more than one exit and one entrance to a zone.
And I'm not sure why Blizzard has designed the world this way, when it was supposed to be open world. There are many aspects of the game that restrict you from where you really want to go and things you want to do. You can't go wherever you want because of the barriers in the open world, and you can't trade all of the items either, and aspects can only be applied to certain items. You constantly have to salvage, enchant items, extract legendaries, etc. There's always something.
Yes, that's called progression, and a lot of people like it, That's kind of integral,
Something
honestly.
restricting you from progressing, when instead you should just be out in the world killing stuff, not crafting constantly in the main city like World of Warcraft. These features should
I'm not sure if people even craft in World of Warcraft, by the way. I think maybe, but I'm not sure.
be choices, not requirements. And this is where Diablo 2 got something almost perfect, because there was crafting and there were ways to enchant your items
5% faster cast rate, yeet and delete.
and do other different types of crafting and enchanting abilities. It's just you didn't absolutely have to do it. to be able to progress your character in the game. When you're completing the Diablo 4 story and questing, you can skip the cutscenes. However, you still spend hours of time hitting your escape key to skip the cutscenes. Every side quest has the same boring scene. Also, every quest is a lot of...
In Diablo 2, if you wanted any lore, you didn't get a cutscene. You went into town and talked to someone after doing a quest, or when a quest became available to see new dialogue. You literally just sat there if you wanted to experience the lore and just listened to it or read it. That's it. That's way less unique than a cutscene.
Of walking and a lot of talking to NPCs. I don't know how many times I had to walk all the way across the map for so many quests, when I could just be out there killing stuff. It feels like they are trying to make the game an open world type atmosphere similar to World of Warcraft with a action RPG spin-off that has a ton of restrictions.
Okay, this false equivalency to World of Warcraft is also kind of getting to me. At the start, I was kind of, yeah, you know, it is like Path of Exile, World of Warcraft, and blah, blah, blah. But this is a false equivalency to World of Warcraft. In World of Warcraft, is World of Warcraft more open world than Diablo 4 in his opinion or not? I can't even tell. This is such a bad false equivalency to make.
Restrictions. Rune words are not completed for the release of the game. They were a feature Blizzard announced to try to get Diablo 2 players into Diablo 4. This is basically the same thing as socketing an item with a jewel or a perfect gem. They are not rune words.
That's not fun, yeah, that's true.
Based on the rune. The feature isn't completed, and I'm sure Blizzard will use this in an upcoming patch to gain hype. I don't think they understand the complex game mechanics for rune words.
Okay, so this is also an incredibly hot take from him, because rune words are actually something Diablo 2 veterans en masse hate, okay? A lot of people who played the original Diablo 2 disliked Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction because rune words just became the most OP and best thing. Rune words are almost always best in slot in Diablo for so many situations. Enigma is literally the armor of choice for almost any class except Sorceress, okay? Spirit Shield is almost almost 99% of the time the best shield of anyone's choice if you're a caster. Even if you're not a caster, sometimes it's an absolutely amazing choice because of everything it does, okay? Not a lot of classes can use anything other than Shaco for their hat. There's so little options because of rune words. You know? Some rune words arguably, in a lot of OG players' opinions, is something that destroyed Diablo as a game. And he's advocating for it. I do not want rune words in Diablo 4. I don't. I don't want one item to be the definitive best for almost every scenario in every build, unless I'm cheesing it to an unbelievable level. That is lame. That is boring game design.
Because this requires a lot of testing and knowledge to be balanced properly.
And it wasn't in Diablo 2. Completely not even close.
Most of the devs at Blizzard that work on Diablo...
Name me a better weapon for melee characters than Grief. You can't. You can't. There's literally nothing better than Grief. Maybe Breath of the Dying or a Gozu Yellow Axe for a Barbarian. Maybe.
Games, I don't think they know anything about Diablo.
Oh, and Grief is always in Faceblade, by the way. There's literally almost never a situation where you do not want Faceblade.
2, and I also never see them ever playing the game. It just seems like they have a job and working at Blizzard is really cool, so they just like to be at Blizzard for the clout and the hype.
That's true. I agree with that.
Employee actually play the game, so I assume they don't have much knowledge or passion Diablo game mechanics that come from the other games, such as
they
Diablo
don't need
2.
that
this
though.
Is probably why they copy and paste Diablo 3, because they don't actually understand Diablo at all. This is why the skill tree is like Path of Exile, and the rest of the game is just like World of Warcraft with a spin-off. It doesn't...
Path of Exile's skill tree, honestly, is nothing special, but it does a great job creating people that want to level up. They want to get to those big nodes that are gonna boost their damage by 20%, even though they never boost the damage by 20% almost. But it creates this such a great, amazing feeling of progression. That's why they have a skill tree like that, because it does its job really well.
It doesn't seem like PvP is going to be completed for the release. This is impossible to balance with the current version of the game because my chain light
PvP is also completely impossible to balance for Diablo 2. Everything is one hit. The most important stat in Diablo 2 PvP is defense. If you don't have your block rate maxed, you are literally incapable of PvPing. If you do not have your resistance maxed, you are literally incapable of PvPing. Without Enigma, you are literally incapable of PvPing.
lightning does more damage than my actual health. If Blizzard wanted, they could balance PvP.
Yeah, and Hammerdins don't literally one-shot most people in Diablo 2 PvP. Hammerdins literally 3-shot almost anything, okay? A charger is literally gonna hit you one time. You're gonna get stun locked if you don't have enough faster hit recovery. And most people don't, by the way, in PvP, and then you die. A Light of Heaven build is gonna literally kill you off screen. It's gonna kill you off screen. Auradins are gonna get you off screen. Aura sorceresses are gonna get you off screen just by teleporting around you. They're gonna
get the game on an esports level of popularity. I just don't think they care enough for the game as much as they do World of Warcraft. I fear we won't see many major content patches because after 2 years they will make the majority of the money that there is to make from Diablo 4. I don't see Blizzard making enough money off cosmetics.
We already know that's not gonna be true because Diablo 3 has been updated. In not the best ways, let's be honest, but it has been updated for how many years now? Maybe it's not the fastest, but it has been. So we know that that's going to not be true.
Actually care for the game as much as they care for World of Warcraft. Maybe if the game was a subscription-based game, it's just over time they won't make enough money from the game anymore. So I don't really see them continuing to develop more features and more of the end game.
That's literally assuming, by the way, that Diablo 4 is going to flop instantaneously. This is the only scenario where that's true. If Diablo 4 is just like, oh, well, you know, people are unhappy about X, and yeah, we're never gonna fix that. We're never gonna do anything now because you know what? Reasons.
In the future. Also, there seems to be what I call a culture flip or a new age of Diablo players that actually like Diablo 3 and even Diablo 4 game mechanics. After the release of Diablo 3, everyone hated the game, even before it was released. Also, the game died while Diablo 2, as I
Did they hate the game before it was released? I don't remember that.
Said had 40,000 players online. I will say I love Diablo 4 and so far it is a wonderful game. However, everything that made the franchise unique compared to other games has been dismissed for years. And this is why there's an outrage from Diablo 2 players. All we want
The Diablo 2 player outrage is probably non-existential, I'm not gonna lie, and this is gonna be a valuable lesson in statistics. The people that are currently playing Diablo 4 are most likely people who only play, not Diablo 4, but Diablo 2. The people who currently are most likely playing Diablo 2 are only playing Diablo 2. That's their only game. So that is like not even 1% of the player base, most likely. That's a 0.something% of the total player base of Diablo 2 that exists in the world. Their opinion doesn't matter. But their opinion, sadly, is the only opinion that currently exists because no one else is playing Diablo 2.
Wanted was a new game that was similar to Diablo 2 and its core game mechanics, such as rune words and endgame. It's surprising to me that this new age of
and repetitive endgame where you literally just take a minute and a half to teleport to Mephisto, kill him, exit the game, create new lobby, and kill him again. Wow, what a crazy RNG game, huh?
Diablo players tell us to go play Diablo 2 if we like it so much. And tell us we're on some kind of nostalgia trip.
Definitely.
And everyone hated Diablo 2.
It's not a nostalgia trip if you have never left Diablo 2, honestly.
to begin with. So I guess it's just a new age for Diablo.
Crazy. Was that it? Yep, that's it. Wow. What can I say? There was barely anything I could agree upon. There were so little points that were potentially even remotely agreeable. And some of the points that I could arguably agree upon were points where it's 100% personal opinion only, and it's based off 100% personal opinion, but that personal opinion is elevated to a level where that is the right opinion in his eyes. And this is, by the way, not a random dude. This guy is Extimus, and he has really been playing Diablo 2 pretty much for all of his life. I don't know if that's sad or cool, but, whatever. And, he does speak for actually a large portion of the people who have never played anything but Diablo 2 in the past 20 years. So, I mean, a large portion of, maximum 10k people. I know, it is what it is. Anyway, Diablo 4 is probably going to be worth playing. These opinions are completely out of this world. I still don't know. I think he was serious about his quantum journey in his soul or whatever the hell he said. Absolute insanity. Like and subscribe.